In November, you, our voters, passed criminal justice reform with state questions 780 and 781. 780 and 781 downgrade some drug crimes from felonies to misdemeanors, also property crimes. These state questions actually just went into effect July 1st, but no laws regarding criminal justice reform were passed this legislative session. Governor Mary Fallin, by the way, actually criticized the lack of progress this past session. So where do things stand right now? To break everything down, because we received actually more than 200 questions and comments about this. We are joined now by Representative Tim Downing. Thank you so much for being with us.
Good morning, Abigail. Thanks for having me.
Let's break it down. You're from the Purcell area, by the way, for those who didn't know. Where do things stand right now? State Question 780, 781 went into effect July 1st. What does that mean? Because no legislation was actually passed.
Right, and that's so important for Oklahomans to understand. Right now, as of July 1st, all of your drug possession crimes, regardless of how many offenses you've had, regardless of the schedule of drug, regardless of the location you're at, that will now be a misdemeanor. It had the possibility prior to that effective date to be a felony. That's about 9,000 cases per year in 2016. I don't have the Oklahoma and Tulsa County data, which would raise that number even more. So it's important people know that it's in effect, but also that it has a massive impact. That's a lot of cases. It also dealt with property crimes. We increased the threshold from 500 to 1,000 that it would take to charge something as a felony. When you add that in, I think a conservative estimate is about 20,000 cases that we're going to see this year go from felonies to misdemeanors, which the end result of that is it defers those to the counties. And so our county is going to have a big burden to bear this year.
Also hoping to ease some prison overcrowding and deal with, the purpose of this was to help ease prison overcrowding. Our prisons at last check were at 109% capacity. We're number one for not over incarceration, just number one for incarceration for women, number two per capita in the country for incarceration period. And also deal with some mental health issues, maybe some addiction issues, people self-medicating with these drugs. Now, I want to go back to what you said off the top, because now you said drug possession crimes, no matter where, no matter what, are all now misdemeanors.
That's correct.
So if I have 5 pounds of cocaine, it is now just a misdemeanor.
Well, you potentially could get possession with intent to distribute, but our highest court, the Court of Criminal Appeals, has said quantity alone is not enough. So you usually need to have testimony, catch someone in an act. I had a local law enforcement officer down in Pauls Valley tell me the other day that he found someone with a large amount of drugs with a ledger, and they still couldn't get possession with intent. The federal code does have quantities, we do not. And so right now as it stands, to get that intent, you really have to have an affirmative act.
Okay, why wasn't this figured out, I guess? Why wasn't this tackled during this past legislative session? Even Governor Mary Fallin criticized the fact that lawmakers weren't able to tackle this past legislative session.
Are you talking about the additional reforms?
The additional reforms.
Right.
Nothing was done. She criticized Representative Scott Biggs for what she called holding up criminal justice bills in the last week of session, because a lot of this could have been fixed.
Yeah, she went after him.
She did.
And I think it's important people to realize that State Question 780, it was written by the ACLU out of New York and funded by them, so that you had a different group and a local coalition that worked on that. The Pew Trust Foundation out of Washington, D.C. has put this package together for the governor. So they deal with different things, where 780 dealt with reducing felonies to misdemeanors. What you see in the governor's package is about reducing felonies from a higher sentence to a lower sentence. Two of the big ones dealt with property crimes, and then also it had to do with repeat offenders. And so if you had someone that was repeat offending, right now if it's your second time, generally speaking it would be a 2-time multiplier, the minimum. Third time and above would be a 3-time multiplier, and they want to make that a 1.25 multiplier if someone had only nonviolent offenses, which I think is where this conversation would be the most helpful, is because again, an outside group coming in, we have a statute that defines what a violent offense is, but it's not thorough.
Sure.
And so it missed a lot of crimes. A solicitation of sex by a minor, I had a case like that when I was at the Attorney General's office. I can tell you that has a grave risk to public safety. We need to look at that. Domestic violence by strangulation. So there were a lot of offenses that you see. Hate crimes is another example.
Why wasn't that done, though, is what I'm asking.
Well, that wasn't a bill that was filed. It wasn't a vehicle. So you had about 4 of her bills that referenced over to this section as Title 57, Section 571. And by referencing to that, it left a big gap in the crimes that we need to look at. So I think that's what you'll see as we approach some studies this session, is trying to identify, maybe classify what our felony offenses are versus violent versus nonviolent.
Sure. I mean, that's a big definition.
Yeah.
What's violent, what's nonviolent,
Right.
what's a public safety threat, what's not a public safety threat, what's someone feeding a mental health issue, what's someone feeding an addiction, or what's someone with intent to distribute and be a threat to public safety. We did get a lot of viewer questions about this. I would like to get to this first one. This one is from AJ. This person said, well, if you were throwing people in jail for small crimes, then it wouldn't be overcrowded. So I'm glad the state is finally listening to that. Do you agree with AJ?
Here's what I think is important for people to keep in mind. When we talk about small crimes being like a drug offense, we think of that as being nonviolent. But I can tell you the overdoses, the carnage in our state from people overdosing is big. That's as violent as it gets. You also, when you talk to law enforcement officers, child abuse, child neglect, domestic violence, burglaries, almost always have drugs associated. So,
but those will still be a felony. If you're abusing a child, that's still a felony,
those
correct?
would. Yeah,
Okay.
but that's where I'm going with this. So when we say you want to release more offenders out of prison, I think the key ingredient here, and step one should be, what will we do with them?
Okay.
How do we fund a diversion program for mental health and substance abuse? 781 was supposed to do that. Now, even though it came in effect July 1st, that Preston Dorflinger won't actually operate under that statute until July 31st of 2018. So counties, those 9,000 extra drug offenders, they have no additional money for treatment. So they're out there with that money to be treated and helped. I think that's the greatest concern. So I agree with her, but if you're going to let those people out, you have to have a mechanism in place to fund that and give them help and treatment so we don't see an increase in all the crimes that are associated with it.
Get them kind of reintroduced back into the world,
Yeah.
get them jobs and get them help, rather than just kind of turning them loose. Like I said, we received a lot of viewer questions about this, more than 200 comments on the Facebook Live I did, so we're going to get to those, but we do want to get, well, we're going to do one more. This one from Brandy. She said, drug rehab is great if the addict wants to get better. What about those who go through therapy just to get out and back to drugs? We do not have mental health facilities. How do you distinguish the person who's just kind of going through the motions because they want to get back on the streets, or the person who actually really wants to get help? Maybe a mom who's fallen into addiction and wants to get help for her kids and wants to get a job and get better, versus the guy who's just kind of going through the motions so he can get back to drug dealing. How do you distinguish that?
I think you find out pretty quickly. I think the drug court programs that I've heard from, it's an 18-month program, they would usually find out pretty quickly. That was one of the concerns, by the way, is by having this change in the law, we would have less people willing to go through a long drug court program when they can spend a few months in county or pay a fine. I have a rehabilitative type program down the road from me. It's a faith-based organization. We need 1,000 more of those.
Sure.
That is the answer, and that is the key. I love your State of Addiction series you're doing with your network.
Thank you.
It really highlights the fact that we need help and we need support out there for people, and before they get hit with a criminal charge of some type. We want people to know where it is. Like she is mentioning, there's people who want help. They don't need that leverage of a criminal charge pending, and we need them to know where it is and also have the resources out there to get them to it. The Attorney General, Mike Hunter, is doing an effort on opioids right now, and we're doing a commission. I'll be on it. A big piece of that last session, we filed a bill to put about $100 to $200 million away to actually fund diversion programs and treatment. That's where my heart is on this issue.
Sure.
Is step one is, what are we going to do with the people? How do we treat them and help them?
It's an epidemic.
It
and
is.
It's a sickness. It's a mental sickness, and you don't want to slap them with a scarlet letter, a felony for life, because they have this sickness. But on the other side, there are people who do bad things, and they continue to do bad things. So that's kind of where we're drawing the line, and unfortunately, no reform bills were passed as we're talking about, but a lot more to get to.
Yeah.
So we're going to have you stick around for
Thank
one
you.
more segment. Meteorologist Brad Stouter, how are we looking outside?
Well, you know, the heat is still there, and it's only going to get hotter here over the next few days, so plan for that. Outside, not a drop of rain, no cloud cover in Oklahoma. You have to go all the way up in Nebraska, Iowa, before you find any wet weather. That's the closest it gets to us. And so today, even though you might see a few of these clouds, none of them will produce any wet weather in the state. 80 degrees right now, wind out of the south at 14. That's kind of nice because, you know, as it gets hot and humid, you can see the haze in the air. It'll keep the air stirred up enough to not make it feel terribly hot or hotter than it could if the air wasn't blowing at all. So by 2 o'clock, 95, look at the mid-90s just holding on this afternoon. And with all of this sunshine, of course, the sidewalks, the driveways, you're going to get very hot. So watch your pet's paws and, of course, your kids' feet as well if they are going to the pool. Even at the pool, the concrete's going to get pretty hot around there. So looking at the wind today, going to be out of the south 15-20 miles per hour all day long, and the eventual highs making their way up into the mid-90s, 96 in Oklahoma City, 102 in Enid, 103 in Alva. Hot summer here, hot July, certainly going to be with us as here the next 3 days. We're looking at 96 Tuesday, 96 on Wednesday. By Thursday, still locked in this big heat. By Friday, going to be up around 97. Saturday, we have a chance for some wet weather. Isn't that the way it kind of is this time of year? The wet weather shows up on the weekends while the rest of the week is dry. So if you are making plans to get out this weekend, you head to the area lakes. It's a 20% chance of some wet weather at 10 a.m. on Saturday. All day long, there is a chance for a shower or thunderstorm. Highs will be in the 90s with some storm opportunities. That is the latest First Alert forecast. We'll be right back.
Back with you at 9:23, continuing our conversation with Representative Tim Downing, talking about State Question 780, 781, which passed in November and actually went into effect July 1st. These downgrade some drug possession crimes and property crimes from felonies to misdemeanors. Still a lot of questions remain, though. A little bit in limbo here. Our viewer questions continue. This next one from David. He says, our correction systems really have nothing to do with corrections. Drugs are readily available in many of our prisons, and the people running them turn their heads. We need to look at the people in charge of the prisons and make sure they aren't involved in corruption. What do you think about David's?
Well, I'll tell you, Director Albaugh has a massive task at hand, and he took it over knowing that to be the case. He's going to ask for another $1 billion, I think, this coming year, which makes me hesitant to think that 781 will have a lot of savings there for DOC to go to the counties. But he's right. We have to have a watchful eye. Of course, we just had the riot here recently. Yeah. As I said in your lobby, receptionist said, I think they need to clean this mess up. They're the ones that made it. And I thought that was pretty sharp. But he's right. We always have to have an eye out there. As far as drugs entering prison, one of the efforts this session was how do we get more mental health and substance abuse treatment, not just on the outside and with diversion programs, but inside the prisons themselves. Okay. And I think that's important. I know down in Lexington they're looking at making that a central location to take offenders that are in prison across the state, bring them to a central location so they can have better services for that.
Well, a major problem too, these prisons are overcrowded, as we know, 109% capacity, and they're understaffed, as we know, and they don't, quite frankly, a lot of them who work in these locations, they don't make a lot of money. A lot of them make minimum wage, and they're dealing with these violent offenders. You know, if I'm going to make minimum wage, I'd rather go work somewhere where I at least feel safe. You saw the riot, 400 inmates, prison guards, people were injured in that sort of situation. So the prison overcrowding problem not only affects taxpayers, it's an expensive issue, but it can be a safety issue for the people working at those facilities. And so, like you said, Director Albaugh, the DOC director, has quite a task and doesn't have the resources that he needs. Do you know if the $1 billion that he's going to request, is that to build more prisons? Is that what the money's going to be?
No, I mean, I think he would love to have the additional funding for operational costs to bring his staffing up and
to hire more people.
And to rehab the facilities he currently has. Sure. I mean, I'd let him speak to that, but I think he would tell you he needs a lot more funding.
Yes. No, he said that too in that exact same chair. He said that. This next question comes to us, I believe, from Leslie. She says, but now our county jails will be the ones that are overcrowded, which they already are. The number of low-level felony possession charges by themselves do not result in prison time 99% of the time. So the argument is here, okay, we're getting rid of the prison overcrowding problem, but now it's just on the county jails because you're taking it from a felony to a misdemeanor. Those misdemeanors go to county. Do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. She is exactly right. I mean, our local law enforcement, I was talking to some of our city law enforcement, they said they may be looking at municipal code violations and fines knowing of the burden that the county is going to face. I mean, the counties literally will not have any additional resources through 781 to handle this. And like I said, just outside of Oklahoma and Tulsa County, 9,000 cases that were charged as felonies will now go to those counties. I mean, that's a massive amount of new offenders that they have to deal with and take care of, and it'll put the burden on them.
And they don't really have the space to do it or the resources. No. As a legislator, what can you do? Can you make legislation? Can you draft bills, or what can you do to help this? Because the voters have made their voices heard. Yeah. They want criminal justice reform. It passed. So, you know, as an employee of the people, what can you do?
Well, I think your hands are largely tied because the people voted on it, on touching 780. I mean, it is. We looked at making a very, very small change, just dealing with schools, because the school areas weren't aware that it affected the laws on their campus and the protections for their children. So that went down in flames, and so I think to say that we would do something as large as tackling this massive influx going to counties, that's directly the result of 780. So, and that's why it's important too, and we mentioned many times that we need to watch this and see what the end result of it is. I think California is a little bit ahead of us. We've seen some crime increase. They also were lacking funding for the treatment programs, even though they reduced all of these low-level possession charges and put them in counties, and it's been a problem for them. And so we need to keep an eye on it. We need to keep an eye on our own state as well.
Would like to get one more viewer question in if we have time. We do. Okay, Greg, he says everybody wants accountability for the citizens, but no accountability for most police officers, prisons, lawmakers, local governments who pry on the local citizens. Do you feel that like there's enough accountability for those who are, I mean, you're employed for the people, by the people. Do you feel like there's enough accountability right now for those who run the prisons, those who enforce the law, and those who make the law?
There's a tremendous amount of accountability for law enforcement officers. In fact, I would say they are watched extremely closely and criticized, especially right now. I think the Obama era administration did a lot of damage to our local law enforcement. Our chiefs are having a hard time finding people who want to work, knowing that they're going to be criticized and ridiculed many times for what decisions they make. Obama administration is make America safe again. That's their new mantra. I support our local law enforcement. Occasionally there's bad actors. We've seen that, but they are swiftly taken care of and met with justice, just like any other citizen would be. But look, they're putting their life on the line. They have to make a decision. We had 2 law enforcement officers that were killed this year in Oklahoma, and it was at the hands of people who had a record of nonviolent offenses. They're in danger every day of their life, and so I would say they're held accountable, and I'm thankful they're there.
Me too. Yeah. I support anybody who wants to put their life on the line for my safety, and now with just about every department getting these body cameras, which are public record, I'll attest to this too. You really see just about everything they do on a daily basis. I want to thank you so much for your time, shedding a little bit of light on this ongoing situation. So more to come as you continue to study and to look at criminal justice reform here. So we certainly appreciate it. Something I'm assuming you'll be tackling and looking at next legislative session. Thank you so much.